Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for our webinar with Dan Meyer, 3 gifts that technology can give to or take away from your math classroom. We are so excited to have all of you here today. But while we wait, I'm just going to go ahead and kick things off with a few icebreakers. We'd love to hear today, where are you from? What grades do you teach? And then maybe why did you join us for today's webinar? So I'm going to give, again, everybody just a few minutes to join us. And during that time, I'll drop my information in the chat as well. Hi, Jill. Thank you so much for joining us today. Hi, Chris. Wow, lots of people in secondary. So good to have all of you. Canada, very cool. We're international officially. Hello, everybody. Thank you. Thank you. Well, believe it or not, that has already been a full minute. So I'm going to go ahead and just go through a few helpful tips for us while we're in the webinar, and then I'll kick things over to Dan. So if you would like to access closed captionings during this webinar, you can do that by clicking the CC button in the bottom of your Zoom tray. That will pop up the opportunity for you to enable subtitles to make this webinar just a little bit more inclusive for you. We love your participation and we would love to hear from you in the chat. So please feel free to use that chat function, but be aware that if you have any questions that you are just like so in need of Dan to answer during the webinar, please put those in the Q&A function. And that way, if we have time at the end, I will be able to share those questions with Dan and we can go over that Q&A again if there's time. You should receive a certificate of attendance and the webinar recording from Zoom within a couple of days of the webinar. So be on a lookout for that email from Zoom. You'll also receive a email from us containing the webinar as well. With that being said, I'm going to go ahead and kick things over to Dan. Thanks for joining us today, Dan.
My pleasure. Thank you, Ryan, and thank you all for being here. I'm checking out the names of folks on the attendees list, and I'm seeing some of my all-time favorite people and educators. If you are wondering, is he talking about me right now? The answer is yes. Yes, I'm talking about you, specifically you. I just got back this morning from being in a classroom of kids, learning mathematics and bilingual immersion Spanish speaking class. It was a thrill watching a teacher navigate the social, technological, mathematical, cognitive relationships all throughout the class. I just walked away feeling ever so much more impressed by the work of teaching, what folks like you do and the people you support. So I'm just thrilled to bring a few words here today that I hope will expand your sense of what's possible in a math class and how to make that possible. So I'll just tell you, I am so motivated by a few separate riddles, 3 riddles that have bothered me for the roughly 20 years I've spent doing the work of math education. And these, I anticipate they will bother me for many years to come. I do hope to make some progress on them with you today, that we would help each other get smarter about these riddles. Riddle number 1 is to wonder out loud, why does math seem so necessary outside of class and so pointless to kids inside of class? The professionals who use math, they know its power, they love it, and inside of class, kids are often like, what are we doing here? You can see that in the job, the lifetime earnings data, where tech and STEM majors, they out earn other kinds of majors, and yet in surveys of students, we find that about 1/2 of kids reported losing interest during their math lessons. That's a little odd. It's as though the teacher says to the kid, like, "Hey, can I interest you in some math?" And the kid says, "That's okay, actually." And the teacher says, "Well, what if some money? What if money?" And the kid says, "No, that's all right. I choose poverty." That can drive a person a little bit crazy. Like, don't you know how valuable this is? What I'm offering you here? And people have indeed gone crazy, and they kind of protest a little bit too much. The MAA, the Math Association of America, our standard bearers for math. They published a article that was like, hey, get in line. We are ruled by math. Math is your ruler. And for some reasons, kids just kind of like they don't really buy it. And I have felt that power of math, and I've taught kids who feel like math is pointless. And that is a riddle that bothers me deeply. Another riddle is the technology riddle: why devices seem so energizing outside of class, but so enervating, so yawn inducing inside of class. And in some ways, it's not a fair fight. It just isn't a fair fight. You know, trillions of dollars and vast technological armies have gone into turning these devices that kids have outside of class and the little addictive machines, little casinos in their pocket full of dopamine. You know, like how can, you know, linear equations compete with goat videos? You know, I'm just like, it's not a fair fight. You know, like kids are scrolling for a reason. This stuff is hilarious and awesome, and I have never related to an animal more. But still, I wonder, you know, why, you know, kids are creating in Roblox and doing things in Fortnite and making things you know, in Minecraft. They're doing lots of this creativity, and then in their math classes, those same devices, those same hunks of metal and silicon and glass, they go into classes and the effect is very, very different, where kids are, you know, staring off into space, um, deeply disengaged. Can we use those devices in ways that are as engaging inside of class as outside of class is a riddle that bothers me. These kids who really dislike math class in that survey, they say, please, fewer online activities. And I think it really matters deeply what kind of online activities they're doing. That's riddle number 2. And the other is just to wonder, why do kids feel like they have to become aliens in math class more than in other classes? This is just a hunch. I don't have data to back this up, but I do get the sense that in math class, more than in ELA and science and history, kids feel as though to be successful here, I must become someone other than who I am. I need to become someone much more like the teacher, someone much more like a robot, someone much less human. I'm talking about like, you know, you read a problem like this, you read a math problem like this, Carol, reading pages of a book on Monday, pages of a book on Tuesday, and then the question is 75 pages, a reasonable answer. And there, to be successful in math class, kids need to train themselves to stop wondering the question, is 75 pages a reasonable answer? Is that a reasonable question? Is that a question that a normal person like me would wonder? I have to become abnormal here in order to be successful. And then, you know, as the kid explains, you know, yes, 75 is reasonable because that's what it is. If I told you that this kid received 1 point off from their teacher for that answer, do you know why that kid received 1 point off? I bet you can guess. It's because we're looking for not just you to buy into the question, but buy into a very particular way of answering the question, even one that feels less natural and less precise than what you've got in your toolbox. This right here, I think, is just, why do kids find math so alien? So my question for you, as a waterfall, and what a waterfall means is I'll give you 30 seconds on the clock, and don't press enter. But please think and please type. Type your answer to the question. You can type one word if you want to, or an elaboration. But which of those riddles, the purpose riddle, the tech riddle, the alienation riddle, which of those bothers you most in your practice? Don't press enter. Take 30 seconds and type it in, but don't press enter. We got folks pressing enter. Okay, I see the kind of class that I'm working with here. Little bit unruly, a little bit defiant. Don't press enter yet. Okay, and we'll press enter shortly. Go ahead, folks. Let's see where the chat is at. Purpose, alienation. Okay, fantastic. Yeah, someone says like the standards that we are bound by doesn't have a lot of purpose. Interesting. Okay, this is helpful for me. Not a lot of heat on the tech riddle. The tech riddle winds up, it winds up being central to both of these, an assist for both of these, as we'll find out. Because the purpose and tech and alienation riddle, I just want to offer you this, that they are solved by the same thing, the same attribute when injected into your class resolves all three. I've seen this happen. I've taught classes like this. I've been in classes. I was in a class today that the kids felt purposeful, where the kids did not feel alienated. They felt at one with themselves, that by being more of themselves in class, that was the way to become successful. And that where tech was used in ways that felt engaging and full of purpose. And the answer is creativity. That when creativity is injected into classrooms, those riddles are resolved. So what I want to focus on is how to help in classes, how to give kids the prompt to create in math class, the class that oftentimes seems most antithetical to creation, and how to help kids understand that their creativity matters. When those two actions are clicking, kids create, it matters. They want to create more, it matters more. That creates this kind of flywheel effect that by the end of the school year, it operates on its own and produces these fantastic outcomes for kids. Purpose that where they are unalienated, they feel at home in math class, they feel full of purpose, and the tech is engaging. It would be helpful for us to have a common language around creativity, which is the kind of word that we could use on a webinar like this or at a conference, and all of us nod and say, "Yes, creativity, yes," and have very different ideas about it. It often conjures up ideas of drawing with crayons and painting, but it's much broader. It's very different. Here's a picture of creativity in action, which is when my kids, they begged me to download a particular app on their iPads. They're 7 and 8, and they said, "It's a math app, Dad. It's a math app." They preyed on my vulnerability, my gullibility. They preyed on my desire for them to get into the family business of math, of digging out rocks at the math mine. And so I said, "Sure. Why, yes, of course you can download a math app." And they downloaded it, and I saw it, and I said, "Geometry? Yes." And this app is called Geometry Dash, and it wasn't long watching them use this app, I realized the sad truth, which is that this didn't have anything to do with mathematics. And we had a long talk about that, about playing your dad for a fool. But what did happen was they played these kind of race levels for a little while. But what really caught them was when they themselves were able to make their own races, their own courses. They're trying to create these where they can go really high or go really low and go over the top of this, and it didn't work, and so on. They played that constantly. And that is one way I see creativity in the world. I'm like, how's that get into math class? Then in a math class here, in Liz Clark Garvey's math class, using an amplified Desmos math lesson called Sand Dollar Search, I also see creativity. I'd love for you to watch this very short video, less than 2 minutes, and see where creativity shows up.
Nice. Did anyone capture another one? 2 more to go. Which one did you do? 0 and 4. Oh, interesting. What did that capture a sand dollar? No. How can we revise this to capture the sand dollar here? Because I think I see the 4 that Zachary sees. Tony, what would you do?
X-axis has to go first, so it's 4 and 0.
Ah, okay. Got you. But the 4 and 0, I saw, I think, what Zachary saw as well, but it had to flip around. Okay, we have one more sand dollar to capture. What were those coordinates? Okay. So now you're going to use this convention of writing coordinate points, and you're going to try to find another. I need another coordinate point. Another coordinate point. Jesse, give it to me.
-3, +5.
Okay, so you guessed this? Sorry, Jesse, you are wrong, but you're going to give some information that could help you find the correct sand dollar. Okay, I'm going to unpause you. Go for it.
Students chattering. Check that subtitle out right there. I love it. This other clip did not have a subtitle, but if it did, I think it would read something like "soul leaving body." In that clip, we saw the tech purpose, the tech and purpose riddles all solved at once, and the alienation. I believe the tech was used in engaging ways. Kids felt purposeful in that work. They're shattering. And they felt like they could be themselves in ways that are uncommon in math class. And I want to know how. I want to know why. Where did you see creativity in the Sand Dollar classroom? What was creative about it to you in one sentence? Do not press enter, please, but give it a thought. Do not press enter yet. What was creative there? How did it show up? Press enter, folks. What you got? Okay. The creativity of a game, that feedback. Okay. Guessing, searching. People note the video game-like aspects here. There's someone, Jody uses the word students chose. There's a bit of choice here. Chris also says choice. Okay, great. This is helpful foundation here. I want to build on this. Super helpful. Just to name it, this is an activity, Sand Dollar Search. It is in our curriculum. It is not special. There are many like this that have this exact same effect of injecting creativity in a math class. This Sand Dollar Search is a little special in that it is the one activity that has produced kind of a TikTok style dance from teachers. You know, they get it. But to further narrow in on what is creativity in math class, I'd like for you to think which of these questions will produce more creativity. I have 4 of them. I'm curious what your gut says. And my job here as the teacher in this moment is to build on your intuition, to build on your gut. And so right here, here's question A says, like if the Sand Dollar was at 2 negative coordinates, where is a possible location? Imagine your students. Imagine students, are they feeling creative in this moment? Or explain what you know about the coordinates of that Sand Dollar. What happens to a student's feeling of creativity here? In this question, plot the point 4-8. How creative is a student feeling here? And then here, write a clue that describes the location of that new Sand Dollar. So here's these 4 questions, and I'm going to give you 30 seconds on a timer. We can't see it right now, but would you right now go ahead and think to yourself which will result in most creativity and least? Don't press enter yet. Type in most for now. Okay, type in most, but don't press enter. These instructions are getting tricky, but you're hanging. Which of those do you imagine produces the most creativity? Go ahead and press enter on the one you think creates the most creativity. Okay, we got most is B, D, B. So folks are on D and on B. A feels a bit more constrained and no one is voting for C. So what I might assume is which it has the least creativity. Go ahead and type it in and press enter. Which has the least creativity? You gotta see. So look, I gotta say, folks, this is good. We're in a good place where even though we don't have a definition of creativity, you're able to see it with my kid's story. You're able to see it in that classroom, and we have a kind of sense with math questions which produces creativity. I'm going to offer you a definition of creativity that locks this down quantitatively, like creativity. Here's how you say it. What we'll say about creativity is it's the percent of correct answers. Grab all the correct answers in a class that are unique, and that defines the creativity score of a given math question. Some of you might be thinking, why on earth? Why, Dan? Would you quantify a virtue as ineffable as creativity, as beautiful as creativity? Why would you do that? And I would just say in response, because I'm a sick individual. You know, I have a sickness. I became a math teacher. You know, like this is what I do to the world as I think of it in terms of numbers and structures. Can't help it. So here's an example. If we had these 3 answers to one of those questions and those were all correct, what I'm saying here is there are 3 correct answers. All 3 of them are unique. That means a 100% creativity score. If another answer came into class, now we have 4 total answers, 4 correct answers, and only 2 of them are not shared by any other kid, meaning those kids did something right and personal. That score drops to 50% creativity. If you are interested, I grabbed, because I have access to the big old barrel of data over here at Amplify Incorporated, I went and I grabbed data on what students answered here and calculated across a bunch of classes, hundreds of classes, that creativity score. And here's what I found, is that the percent of correct students who were unique on A was 30%, which none of you chose really. And then on B, it was 98%. Explain what you know. Do a brain dump of whatever you've got, little or a lot. Tell it to us that produced 98% creativity. And then on on C, it was, hang on, it's this is broken here. It should be going up. Hang on. Oh, no, it's not broken. That's just 0%, folks. 0% creativity. Everyone who got it right had the exact same answer. And finally, on D, is it more or less than 98%? D winds up being 85%. There's a bunch of students that would say things like go left down 1 or go right up 2, which wound up being the same. And therefore, it falls out of the creativity score. This is kind of interesting, right? I love this, thinking about how to score creativity. You can go across all of our questions and think about like which produces the most creativity. And that 0% there is interesting. Look, folks, I am not knocking questions that have 0% creativity. Okay, there's lots of areas in math where kids ought to all have the same right answer. A lot of areas of life where that's the case. I would prefer for my surgeon to not be particularly creative when she takes out my appendix, like just do that straight down the middle, But I want you to think about in math classes you teach or observe that you've seen, that your kids are in, day out, week in, week out, month in, month out, year in, year out. What is the average creativity score across all the questions students are thinking about? So I want to think about how we get kids creating and how to help them know their creativity matters. Those math classes are truly special for kids. And what I want to say is when kids create, a couple things are true in these creative classes where it is right and personal, which we talked about. But crucially, when it's not right, when it's wrong and it's also smart. That when kids are wrong, there is something smart to point at and think about. I'd love to think it with you folks. Before I share my recipe, my toolkit for producing creativity in kids, here are 3 math problems across K5, 6, 8, 9, 12. And I'm curious for this one. These are all 0% creativity, right? All these are 0% creativity, excuse me here. This one right here is like, what's the value of those coins? Only 1 right answer. This one says, what is the probability of blue here? There's 1 right answer. Here, what is the range of F? There's 1 right answer. Okay. My question is, how could you bring the creativity rating up from 0%? Respect the math. Don't change the question to draw a picture of a cloud, which is obviously going to have a lot of creativity. But can you ask a question about the value of coins that produces more creativity? Think about it. This is a waterfall, so don't press enter, but type in your response. Don't press enter yet. Okay, hit it, folks. Can't wait. Can't wait to see it. What you got? Okay. Okay. Oh, good stuff. Oh, good stuff. Yep. Look at all those right there. Let's see here. Yeah. Yeah. So on the coins one, I love it. Everyone here on the coins is doing a very similar thing, which I saw a name for this at NCTM last month. A reverse task. Is that meaningful to you? It's like, instead of saying, here's the coins, how much cash, people are like, here's the cash. What are the coins? What coins could you use to make 95 cents from Tina? How many ways could you build 87 cents with coins from Nancy? A lot of that happening there. Same for the range question. Melissa is saying, give a value for Y in the range of F. Love this right here. Reverse task, huge. Other things we did here for the coins in our curriculum was saying like, these are all 25 cents. How is that possible? So we did something kind of similar there, having a discussion, share your thinking on problem 3. Just the way you're able to drag these around is different than, hey, type a number in. And then here's 2 people, how they organize their coins. Talk about why they did it this way. And when kids just like share their ideas, that produces creativity oftentimes. For the spinners, we did the same thing. We did a reverse task. We said, okay, you make the spinner. Rather than we give you the spinner and you tell us the probability, you create your own spinner and then tell us that probability. Done. Do your own problem. Fun stuff. Right here for the range question, again, a reverse task. We said, here is the domain, here is the range. Check out that word. The word is right there. It's right there. Create a graph. And so you go out, you create a graph, and then also tell a story is a real dependable way that we treat different representations in math. Tell a story about it. Storytelling often winds up being very different across students. So right here, students are going to, create their graph, different points, different places. Creativity score through the roof, and it goes even farther through the roof when we ask them for a story about their graph. So those reverse tasks are hot. If this is the answer, what is the question? A reverse task. Also love on this right here, when we give kids, we say, what point would you recommend that Essie try next? And just adding on like this creativity score here, not particularly high as you might imagine, go left. But here, so we take that creativity score of 22%, a lot of the same correct answers here. And then we say, tell us how you know, explain your thinking. And on questions where students have thoughts to share, asking them for their thoughts brings that creativity rating way up. So please find yourself asking as often as is appropriate. Tell me about your thinking here, kids. Love that. They get that from other classes. In math class, so often, they feel like the only thinking that matters is the thinking of the teacher or the textbook or mathematicians who are long since dead, right? It's not their thinking that matters. It's how well their thinking resembles someone else's thinking, which contributes to that feeling of alienation. I love, check out what Liz said here. I love this moment where there was a wrong answer. The student is going for a sand dollar at 4-0 and instead says 0-4. So what did Liz do next? I love what she says.
Oh, interesting. What did that capture a sand dollar? No.
Okay, and then what happened after that was Liz did not say, okay, what is the exact right answer exactly? A question that tells the kids, hey, you got to become just like me, just like math. Did not even say, hey, how should we revise this to capture the sand dollar here? Instead, Liz said,
no. How can we revise this to capture the sand dollar here? Because I think I see the 4 that Zachary sees.
How could we? Like, how could we do this? Implying multiple ways to be right and to be smart. And also, I love that moment of empathy of telling the student who was wrong, I see what was smart here. It was wrong, but it was smart. I see the 4-ness. You got the 4-ness of it exactly right. That move right there, I'm telling you, like oh man, I got goosebumps just thinking about what that does to a kid. Yeah, like day in, day out, hour in, hour out, week in, week out, year in, year out, having the authority figure, the high priest of math class, you saying, hey, I get where you're coming from. It was wrong, but I see what was smart about it. How could we fix this? Like to have that ethos every day, what that does to transform a kid's relationship to math, to themselves, and to you. That is hot stuff. That is hot stuff. So tell me what you're thinking here. Also, how could we? What are possible answers? In this moment right here, we've got like a question that has exactly one right answer, 0 creativity about the volume of a can of soda. We love asking kids to estimate, choose your candy. Okay, you grab that one, estimate it, the number of candies in the jar. Or like thinking about, here's 2 cylinders, and we're filling those up from the same can of soda. Which would you choose? Questions about estimation and intuition have inherent in them no right answer. So therefore, lots of ways to be correct. So what is your prediction? And then loving asking, how are these the same? How are they different? Asking for a comparison of those two things, those two cylinders. That this is a palette right here. These questions, when asked, when paired with a curriculum that makes room for student creativity, will produce classes that solve those three riddles. Tech that works in favor of student creativity, students who feel connected to themselves, not alienated, and students who feel the purpose behind what they are doing. My question is, how do we help students more believe that creativity matters? There's three ways, three contributing factors where a kid could just a kid's on their phone, their devices, they're so creative with them. What do kids create with their devices? They're creating photos and videos and text messages and stories and reels and bing bongs and hoo-ha's. And I don't know all the things anymore. I'm old, but I know they're creative. Okay. But that creativity, it doesn't just stay there on the device. It matters. Like it does things that make kids want to do more of that. So what are those things? Well, the device itself can help kids understand that creativity matters. This is very uncommon in a lot of math ed tech. And a lot of math ed tech, students, they bring of themselves to the device. They bring their creativity. And the device says, "Ooh, that creativity, you can put that right here in the trash, friendo. Does not matter to me." I'm talking about questions like this right here. Find the length of the caterpillar in inches. Type in the chat right now. Don't wait for it. You know the right answer. What's the most common wrong answer? That's teacher magic. Knowing the most common wrong answer to this question, hit it. Yeah, you know what it is. You know what time it is. You know the time of day. 8. Most common wrong answer. Is 8 a smart wrong answer? Or is it just random and mindless? No, it's a smart answer. And so often the device does not communicate to kids that's a smart answer. It just says, nah, you're wrong. And I'm saying what a device that tells kids your creativity matter is going to do something different here. It's going to show the kids something that helps them see, I had something on the ball here, but not quite. And so what we do when the kid types in 8 is we show them a gosh darn caterpillar that's 8 inches long right there. That's it. You knew it was coming, right? And 8 inches, right? And then that's called a high information feedback. Hold on to that term there in your head. High information feedback. In a lot of ed tech, if you type in right here, maybe a kid types in like, I don't know, 0.4 or something. The ed tech says, nope, we'll give you a try. It's nice that it doesn't say you're wrong, dummy, or something like mean, but it gives the kid fundamentally corrective feedback. It's a corrective form of feedback. If a kid says argle bargle, some nonsense, or if they say some kind of some number that the kids are very hot on right now. Whatever they say, if it's wrong, it just says the same thing roughly. Give it another try. It does not credit the kid who is wrong for also being smart. We try to give this high info feedback all throughout our curriculum. Here we'll show you what it takes to go to 7. It's not right, but we'll show you what it means. Or here, if you bring out those coins trying to make 100 cents, we'll show you what you did, 95 cents, and give you the chance to try again. It's high info feedback. You're trying to have Shira the sheep eat those pieces of grass and not fall in the water. On this right here, this is wrong. Students would see typically, you're wrong. But here, what do they see? They see, oh, I got the grass. I did not keep Shira out of the water. Shira does not drown, folks. Do not call, your local, SPCA or PETA. Shira's fine. She's a little grumpy. Okay. Or here, I love this one, like ratios, right? 4 white cups of paint to 6 red cups of paint. What would you need to add to 1 white cup of paint to make more paint? If you taught middle school math, you might know the most common wrong answer here. Do you know? Type it in, press enter. I'm curious. Where's my middle school ratio? Yeah, you know what it is. Meg knows. Yep. Ying knows. Yep. Nice. You folks know. Yep. You know they're going to treat that additively, go from 4 to 6, say 1 is 3. We could just say, you're wrong. But instead, we show kids, when you type in 3, here's what happens. You did make some paint. It is just too dark. High information feedback tells kids their creativity matters. Here, we show you you're supposed to do a scale factor of 2. What'd you do right? You got the angle right, you got certain points right, some parts were not right. So that right there is high information feedback. We'll leave it A. We will take your 6, 7. We will take that and we will do something with that. Like we'll turn that into math. We don't care. It's just great. Daryl, you made a really red shade of paint. Are you proud of yourself? Goofing off. We will make you. It'll be terrifying, just horrifying caterpillar. We will make you a 67-inch caterpillar. We will do it. I just want to say, this does two things. This kind of feedback does two things. It helps kids see that their creativity is valued here, that it matters, and it also helps their learning. The researchers will tell you that feedback is more effective the more information it contains. The simple forms of reinforcement and punishment have low effects, while high information feedback is most effective. Reinforcement feedback, that's like, hey, we'll just tell you when you are right. We'll tell you when. And corrective is like when you're right, but also when you're wrong. And high information feedback is what they get online. They get the retweets, the reposts, the likes, the faves, and also what we share with them when the sand dollar crab pops out, the horrifying caterpillar monstrosity gets made. Okay. I just want to say, when kids are doing that 0% creative work, oftentimes that's paired with this meager corrective feedback. It's bad for learning, bad for a kid's sense of their own creativity in math class, what it is. I love how other kids make creativity matter. Oh, shoot, I got to go off script here. I was, like I said, I just came from a class. I love this right here. Like this is not our curriculum, so I'm gonna black out like what it was, but like this is what people think sometimes, that create, like how you get kids jacked on math is you take a picture of something rad, helicopters, and what we'll do is we'll put math on it, we'll ruin it with math. And we will. This is like what going on a date as someone's wingman, and it's like, oh, this is math is not bringing the heat here on this. Like hanger diagrams on a helicopter. Do they belong there? No, they don't. But what actually happened inside of the book was so special. So what happened was is they gave. Sorry, this is in Spanish. If you don't speak it, this right here, they give you an equation. And they say right here, crea, this is literally create a story about the situation. And so kids were writing stories that had to do with money, distance, altitude, all these different things. They wrote these stories. And here is the crucial part. They did not stay in the book. The stories did not stay in the book. We do this too. This isn't ours. But what happened was the teacher's expert. Teacher's like, okay, read your story, and then the rest of the class, say a de acuerdo or desacuerdo, like, do you agree? Do you disagree? Or do you want to read it again? And that having that audience for the kid's story was what drove so many of them. They knew it was coming. They knew someone was going to share. Could be them. It's what drove them to do better work than if they knew it just stayed in the book, or just got a right or a wrong, or the computer just evaluated it. So that's an example of how the class itself helps students realize that creativity matters. In our situation here, students will type in a clue that describes its location, and they'll share it with the class. And we see time and again, when students see 3 of their classmates' responses, they learn from those responses, and they also realize, oh, shoot, other students are probably seeing my response, and they click back in and they change their response. Or after these lessons where, we ask kids to use linear equations to, capture, okay, I missed that one. That was me. That was my bad. When we use linear equations to capture these different coins here in the lesson called coin capture, y equals -1.5. Okay, also missed that one. I'm going to just fast forward. Here's a little bit embarrassing for me. Okay, yeah. So when they capture those on challenges that we made, what we do next is say, hey, create your own challenge for your classmates.
So what you're going to do next is when you go into the challenge here, You will be making your own coin capture and putting the coins anywhere on here. I want to recommend, please try to be creative. Try to make it a challenge for others to try to capture all the coins in the least number of lines possible.
Okay, and check it out. Like, this is what kids created. They created this. We got kids doing easy lines that everyone in class did. It's like, sweet, thank you, Abraham. Appreciate you, my brother. Or Gladys here. Also easy, but has some creativity. It's like, do you want to do this with 3 vertical lines or 2 vertical and 2 horizontal? Slick stuff. Someone did a spaceship. It looks like Brahmagupta. Nice job. They're bringing of themselves, and having that audience for their creativity matters. Like, check these girls out right here.
We're so smart.
We did Nathaniel's
See,
too.
look.
You did
He did
Nathaniel's
this in 3 too. We're so smart. If you clip the edge of the coin, you can get more than one.
So you're trying to find like how you can try to capture as many coins as you can by like clicking the edges.
Is you can get the line to get the clip the sides of the coin.
Yeah, just by touching the side, it doesn't have to go straight to the middle.
Okay.
We figured that out in the second challenge.
Yes, so you don't have to hit like all exactly through the middle. All right. See if you can do some. Oh, I see some hearts on there too.
Yeah, and they're talking about how they did someone's challenge in fewer lines than that person did. I just love that feeling of creativity that this has inspired in them. The other I want to say, this is the most important. So, kids create. Does it matter? Well, the device can tell them that it matters. Other kids can tell you it matters. And most importantly is the teacher, in whom so much authority is invested. Like, teachers are loved, hated, but revered, definitely. Like, there's the ones you like, the ones you dislike, but there is authority there that matters. What you've got to understand is like having a pile of cash, an inexhaustible pile of cash in your back pocket. This social capital that you can choose to give out for any reason, any purpose, and it will tell kids what is valued around here. And you can spend that capital and say, oh, this person is well behaved and is right in ways that I, the teacher, understand and can read. And that will tell kids, this is what's valued here, not me, but you. And you can also decide to value what the kids are bringing. I bring to you as an example of that Liz Clark Garvey. My question for you when you watch this is, how many kids feel like their creativity matters in this classroom? Very short clip, but watch what Liz is constantly doing right here. Check it out.
Can somebody figure out what would Lewis's method be for rectangle A here? Like, what would Lewis do? How would we use Amir's method for rectangle B? Maybe you're using Jolie's strategy. Maybe you're using Lizzie's strategy. Maybe you have your own strategy that you're using. I could be wrong, but I think Saki is using Lizzie's method because I see the number 49. I think Jolie is using Jolie's method. Cool. Dylan is using Jolie. Beckett, I feel like that 7 times 7 gives me the idea that you're maybe using Lizzie's strategy. It's clear to me Dima is thinking about Lizzie's strategy based on his expression. I bet Gael is doing more of the Jolie strategy. So Jolie's method is Manuel's method. You might think that that's more efficient. You might think Lizzie's method is more efficient. You can debate that. That's fine. The other two are new strategies. Lizzie's strategy is not actually one that's up here, interestingly.
And so I don't know. It's just a different idea of the job of teaching than is common in the vast majority of math classes. You get that, right? Like, so many math teachers see their job as to take the diversity of student thought and to grind that down into a beige, flavorless paste that is correct, that is formally correct. And that is the job. And they turn themselves into evaluation machines robotically, and that communicates to kids that their work is to become more like a robot, more like an alien. Liz here sees her work differently. Yeah, Liz sees her work as detecting smartness wherever it is out in the classroom and reflecting that using the power vested in her as a teacher to say to kids, this is good. And that produces this flywheel where kids say, oh, I will be more creative. It is valued here. This is what you do. Like, you have a very particular set of skills. And I gotta say, those skills are not useful in many places outside of the classroom. The fact that you people knew the most common wrong answer for the caterpillar was gonna be 8, the most common wrong answer for the paint was gonna be 3, that's useless outside the classroom. Like, if you're a math professional doing accounting and taxes, knowing the most common wrong answers to a question, useless. Like, you want the right answer, only one answer, the right one. But you people, you sickos, have this very special set of skills where you know the most common wrong answers, where you can look at a student's work, a student who thinks they have nothing to offer, and say, ah, I know where smart happened here. I'm talking like even questions like this. I'm watching a kid like counting by 5s. Okay, doing this sort of thing. All right, counting by 9s. Ooh, that's cool. That's cool stuff. Counting by 2s. You know, when the kid counts by 2s, something funky happens that the majority of humans, the majority of adults will miss, but not you. You'll see it. And it's right here. It's like this right here. And I'm looking at this. What is going on here? Do you see it? Do you see the moment of creation? What number was the moment of creation here? Take a second. Don't press enter. I'm curious if we agree, you and me. I could be wrong. I've stared at this for a while. Don't press enter, but type it in. Where was the moment where the kid created something? Hit it. What do you think? What was the number? 14? 16? 16? Is it 16? Is it 16? Okay. Okay. 12. See, 12 is so interesting because 12 is the one number where the kid did both. The kid did the left and right. And then I think on 12, listen to us, we're like crime scene investigators trying to, but instead of a dead body, it's a kid's brain. And it's like, what was the kid thinking here? The kid went back and did the scratch up and down on 12, you know? Here's a guess, is that at 14, the kid is like, oh, I got an idea. Does it work? And the kid goes on and tests it out with 24. My guess is the kid went 12, 14, and then 24 and saw that it worked. Then did 16 scratcha, then did 18 scratcha, then 20 scratcha, went back to do 12 scratcha, then 34 scratcha. It doesn't really matter. What matters is that you, the teacher, notice that creativity happened, even though the student themselves might not notice because they're too terrified about being right. And that what you do as a teacher is you tell the kid, here is how I see you're being creative here, and it matters. That's the power vested in you folks. So again, I don't know, there's a lot that's right here. Something I'll say to kids constantly, even when it's wrong. Can I say what I see you doing here? Just like, oh, I'm sorry, you want to talk about me? Like, you're always wanting to talk about math. I get it. You love math, want to marry math, blah, blah, blah. But you want to talk about what I'm doing? Why, yes, please. Or you two should talk about this. Like, I wouldn't say this lightly, but this is worth you two talking about. You both have different things going on, both very valuable. Talk about the differences and the similarities. I'm coming back to you. I'm coming back to you. Like, that helps students realize that creativity matters. Here's what you're making me think about. Like, what? Like, it runs in that direction? Are you kidding me? You answered a different question perfectly. I dropped that on a kid today. You know, they're taking a story word problem and turning it into equation. Kid did it wrong. And so what I did is I was like, hey, you answered this correctly if the word problem, scratch. And then I wrote a 0 where there was a 25. Now kid knows I did something right. Okay, it wasn't all bad, and has something to think about. That's that high info feedback. It's all clicking. And then what happens if you try something different? And just, it all comes together. Curriculum, teaching, students, math, creativity, it mattering in classes that just feel different.
Try it. What's going to happen when I say try it?
Try it out.
I'm going to press try it.
Yeah, actually try it. Let's see.
Try it.
Okay, so try it out.
Let's just try it. Try it. Try it one more time. We should try it. Try it. Did it work when you press try it? Try it.
Let's try it. Let's try it.
Again, you're playing a game that takes place over inches, but the inches add up into miles. Like every hour adds up into days, adds up into weeks. The school year is done, but it changes a kid's life. Like they remember the teachers that change their perception of math, but especially the ones that change their perception of themselves. It's all happening, folks. Let's start to wrap this up here. I'd love to know from you folks, again in a waterfall. I talk fast. I get excited. You can let the vibe wash over you, and it's like, what was he saying? Like, pick a thing out, pick a line out, pick a question you want to ask more often. Pick a curriculum you want to buy. I don't know. That'd make a Ryan happy. You want to make Ryan happy, right? But I just want to know, like, whatever your curriculum is, whatever your grade is, what's something you can try out to add creativity to your classroom this year. So 30 seconds on the board. Type it, don't press enter. Hit it, folks. Curious here, curious here. Uh-huh, uh-huh. Yeah, love seeing reverse task, Chelsea. Got you there. Nakia saying like, okay, listen to, hear from students more, give them the floor to teach. When those roles switch, like you're the teacher now, that's huge. Change the questions. Let's see here. Add more questions where there's more than one correct answer. Okay, that's cool. That's cool. I'm feeling it. But some folks are saying like more real world, and I just want to like more relevant, and those can go a couple ways. I'm saying like you got to watch out for the real world showing up like the helicopter. There's moments where the the real world is uncreative. We're asking kids questions about the quote unquote real world that don't have creativity attached to them. I just want to like again to not to throw water on this idea. I love it. But this right here, this right here is, a question that is quote unquote real world. It's about a book and pages, but it is not creative. And it is the site for so much alienation for some kids. Okay. So do understand that the real world can be powerful for creativity, but if and only if other elements are true, that kids can be right in ways that are personal to them. They can be wrong in ways that are smart. So, where I am at on the purpose riddle personally is that math seems so pointless to kids because they feel pointless to math. I say again, math class feels pointless to kids because they feel pointless to math class. It's not that math needs to be endowed with all these different real worldy attributes. It's not about the questions we ask per se. It's about, do those questions communicate, and the kids and the devices and the teachers communicate? You have a point here. This class would be less without you is not a feeling many kids have. Kids feel like, well, if I'm right, then I'm keeping the ship moving in the same direction. If I am wrong, I'm dragging the ship down into the water. But they themselves don't feel like the value that they bring in other classes, other areas of life, contributes to math class. And that is the real source of the issue, not putting a hanger diagram on a helicopter, right? That devices feel energizing outside of classroom because outside of classroom, kids are creating, and those creations feel like they matter. They are getting those social connections, those likes and retweets and faves and reposts from other kids. That doesn't happen in math class. In math class, you just get corrective feedback from the device, and it depletes their social battery. I encourage you to ask yourself, is the ed tech that you use, is it in airplane mode, the mode that I hate, that I turn off right when I land, where I want to get more from people, not from the device? Is your class in airplane mode? And I don't know if I need to even summarize like our thinking here, but kids feel like they have to become aliens in math class because they feel like math class is deeply interested in one version of a human, the kind that is precise and right quickly all the time. And you have the blessed gift to change that perception through your efforts at having kids create, telling them that creativity matters. Purpose, creativity, and connection to yourself, to other kids, and to math, that is all on the table for the taking by you this school year, depending on what you do with the limited time you have with kids, what you emphasize, 0% creativity tasks or more than that. But you have the choice here. I'm so excited. I hope you'll take creativity. Thank you folks for being here and contributing in the chat. I got a couple minutes for questions if you got any. Otherwise, I'll kick it on back to Ryan. Thanks so much.
Dan, thank you so much. I so desperately wanted to see this at NCTM this year and was not able to make it to your session. So I feel reinvigorated and just so happy to have gotten to hear this. We don't currently have any questions in the Q&A other than one from Jody that I can answer very quickly. Yes, the recording will be shared with you. Keep an eye out for an email from us, and we'll be able to get that over to you as soon as possible. But that being said, I am going to just very quickly share my screen to share a few more resources with educators. Oh, it pulled up the wrong one, but that's totally okay. Oh, no, it didn't. We're good. If you want to check out more professional learning opportunities and maybe more of like a bite-sized situation, head over to our new K5 math channel, which is youtube.com/@advice-for-the-math-classroom. You'll hear a bunch of different great things there, including some tidbits from some of your favorite thought leaders like Dan on that channel. So make sure you go ahead and check that out. If you would like to find more information about problem-based learning or more professional resources, check out our Back to School Math Starter Pack. This is marketed as kind of back to school, but it has resources that are relevant to you all year long. You can access that for free at bit.ly/pbl-starter-pack. And to check out some of the lessons Dan shared today in his webinar, you can access those at amplify.com/classroom. Some of those are Amplify classroom lessons. Some of them are free try it lessons straight from our Amplify Desmos math curriculum, but all of them are great, and I would encourage you to check those out. Well, it does not look, unless I am wrong. Let me stop sharing my screen so I can find more easily. It doesn't look like we have more questions. And it looks like in the chat, people are just saying how incredible this was, Dan. So I think we can go ahead and close this out just a few minutes early. Dan,
Appreciate you
thank you
folks.
as always. You're great.
Thanks, Ryan.
Enjoyed
Faith.
your session.
Thank you all.
And everyone else have a great rest of your day. Bye.